Excellent. So, welcome everybody to our fireside chat. Something new this week. It feels like social media is kind of inescapable for solo bosses like us. Like every day we hear or read, like you have to post every day, or your business will wither and die, or the usual. You have to be on. Insert the latest trendy platform, whether that's TikTok or Substack or whatever else. So, of course, we wanted to include it here at the Slow Summer Club, but what we didn't want to do is another week short workshop telling us, how to get the best out of each platform. That would, span quite a lot of workshops, but also it's really what works best for you is about you, your preferences, your business, and your ideal clients. That's exactly what we want to do here at the Slow Slumber Cup and at Solo Boss. So we decided to have a fireside chat instead, and chosen fellow solo bosses and have them tell us about their experiences with social media. So how they use it for their business and what they've learned and how it worked and how it didn't, and all of these little aspects. So with that in mind, I want you to meet Emma, Sarah, and Sophie, if you want to give a wave. So these three fellow solo bosses will talk to us today about how they're using Substack, LinkedIn, and YouTube, respectively. The format is simple. We have a few questions prepared so we can make sure to cover all the important points. But really, other than that, we'll just see where the conversation takes us. And of course, we'll finish up at the end with a Q&A so you can all ask your questions as well. So that's without any further ado, over to our experts. Maybe get started around the room, so to say, and tell us a little bit about your businesses and how social media in particular fits into it. And I'm going to tell you who's going to start. Emma.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on this. I'm Emma. I am a social media marketing consultant working for film clients primarily, and a little bit in creative arts generally. I've been doing marketing for over 15 years, which is scary to say, but I've sort of always been the digital nerd everywhere I've worked, and I've always been kind of a primary adopter of social in any company I've been in. And I specialized in only offering really social media marketing consulting when I went freelance, which was 5 years ago. So I not only use social media all the time, but that is pretty much all I do, full stop. So I'm that chronically online person. In terms of how I use it, obviously for clients, I do everything from like strategy level, where I just help them set up a social media strategy for their business, or I can do really hands-on. I will go in and do content creation, content development, video work, because I work mostly with film clients. That could be film festivals, film distributors, film releases, film campaigns, or film education. I obviously work with a lot of video material. So I had to become a content creator, whether I wanted to or not. That's kind of part of what I do. And I market myself mainly, I'm on all the social media apps, but the ones that benefit my business and how I get work are mainly LinkedIn was the OG, and then I've been using Substack for, I would say, almost 3 years now. I have a Substack for myself, which is where I do knowledge sharing, and I run Substacks for some clients. So that's the nutshell. And we'll get into that.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Sarah, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a virtual assistant who specialises in social media. I've been established for 10 years as a VA, and I didn't start doing just social media, but when a coaching client of mine asked me to do that kind of work for her, I realised I really enjoyed it and really liked bringing that element into their lives. And one of the things she always said to me, this client, was that by the time I've done my social media and shared it everywhere, I personally am quite drained, and I then need to try and find some more energy for my clients. And that really resonated with me, because I think that as business owners, we do try and do everything ourselves, so it's really nice to have that support. So I work for all kinds of businesses, so bricks and mortar businesses like opticians and windows companies, or online businesses like coaches, And I work for a couple of really high-end coaches that deal with things like mergers and acquisitions. I write for them, I engage for them, I grow their accounts, I make images for them. Not very well, I must say. I'm probably pretty crappy at that bit, but the writing part and the engaging part and the growing part is kind of my bag. And I think that maybe the skill has come from 25 plus years as being a PA to senior management teams in the corporate world, where often you would be looking through their inbox and replying to team members or clients and things like that. So I really do understand what it means to for the public face of that founder or owner to be handled well and quickly as well. Response times are important. So in a nutshell, that's it. I'll be happy to answer questions later and deep dive a little bit into why I think LinkedIn is an incredible platform for opportunities and ways to grow, but with the caveat that it's not right for every business. And I'll explain more about that later.
Excellent, thank you. And last but not least, Sophie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I am currently a content manager for B2B companies, mostly tech companies, to be honest. But I have different products in my business. I am also a content creator. I have something that I really love, orchids, as you can see, and I have a YouTube channel, a Substack, and Instagram for my orchids as well. So I have like the two sides of things, like B2B content management for different businesses. So I do lots of different things. Social media was the beginning of my career in marketing about 10 years ago, but now I've a bit moved on to social media and content as a general strategy for business. So YouTube, I use YouTube for my clients, obviously, trying to build up their brand awareness on that platform. But I also use it a lot for my content creation because it's my first channel actually for my orchids. And I also use LinkedIn, obviously, for myself. Not a lot, I have to say. I would love to do more. I do it better for my clients, obviously, because now we know that in B2B, thought leadership is a big thing. And obviously, LinkedIn is the primary way to do it, although Substack and YouTube are also very good alternative as well, depending on the business. So here I am. So we'll talk about YouTube a little bit more. And, if you have any questions, obviously happy to answer them.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. That was very good. And I think we can just launch right into it. So yeah, let's maybe get started with, if anybody here in the room or watching us at home was considering either LinkedIn, YouTube or Substack for their own marketing, what would you want them to know? What are the key things that whenever somebody thinks like, oh yeah, I can do this, what's the but or the yeah, but, or any kind of bits and pieces that you just immediately pop into your head that you want them to know?
I'm happy to kick off on Substack. I would say that, Substack's an obvious choice for people who love writing. Oh, that's kind of a given. And I know a lot of business owners who are not comfortable with doing videos and reels and all that stuff, but they do like to write, and that's a safer or more comfortable way to express themselves. So I am seeing a growing appeal on people who have that thought leadership to share and are exploring Substack because they don't want to be doing Instagram videos. I get that. The one thing I would say is, unlike what I would call traditional social media, i.e. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Substack is still early days. I'm not sure you're necessarily going to find clients through it. I don't also think you're going to just reach masses of people. If that was the only platform you were going to consider, I think it's a supplementary channel at the moment. Like I would say LinkedIn is still where I probably get the most work, and Substack is where I develop my knowledge sharing to a niche audience, but it's also much more like me finding my people. So they two complement each other, and I cross both. But if I only did Substack, I would be getting a lot less work. I also think just if you are considering Substack, you do need good writing skills. And I don't mean that. What I mean is I think you're competing with very, very, very strong writing on that platform. I think just going in and being like how-to blogs or 5 tips for the stuff that people can find in a Google search is going to get you nowhere. You have to be able to sort of express much more of like your specialist knowledge that's unique to you, your own stamp on things, your own takes, things that are personal to your context, not stuff that anyone that's kind of generic. And don't use AI, please. Like, obviously, use it to maybe like proofread, but you can see what's AI immediately on Substack. It's obvious. I mean, that's valid for anything. That's valid for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for whatever. But there's a lot of AI slop bros on there shilling their rubbish, and you can see it immediately, and it's very boring to read. So don't do that.
How do you, Sophie, maybe you're next, because it feels like YouTube has a similar kind of background, and at least for me, like a Substack, because it's thought leadership and everything, but it's obviously the talking and video point. So do you see it like that, or what do you think about YouTube, and what should people know about it?
YouTube is actually a great platform for people used to talk in public, I think, mostly. You don't have to have great skills at editing videos. It's not something that is really important. You have to have a good, microphone, because obviously, apparently, sound is even more important than images when you do YouTube. But so you could also do podcasts, actually. You don't have to do videos as such. You can also do podcasts on YouTube. I think it's obviously a more time-consuming platform because video shooting and creating is long, and you have to learn a lot of skills and different things, but it's very rewarding because you create a real community around your expertise, and it's also another way to do a lot of thought leadership. And I know some businesses have done maybe 2-3 videos, but if they are the right topic and you are actually giving very good information on your expertise, that can bring a lot of clients to you very quickly. You don't need a big audience to have a lot of work coming your way thanks to videos. That's the upside of this platform, I would say. But obviously, it is hard work, and you have to play the long game. It's not something like Instagram or TikTok. You can become viral in a minute. That's not going to happen. But the long game is worth it most of the time for B2B because it's still a platform we are not using enough, I think. But obviously not for everyone. If you don't like to talk in front of a camera, well, then maybe not for you.
And yeah, obviously LinkedIn, I think is anybody here in the room not on LinkedIn? So it's the whole kind of, everybody has at least a profile. If they're actively using it, it's something else. So how about you, Sarah? What would you want people to know if they're thinking about actively using LinkedIn for their business?
So if anybody ever comes to me and asks me about that and about what platform they should choose, it's always got to start with what is your intention? What is the outcome that you're looking for? So, and I know that probably sounds silly because wouldn't it just be to make sales? But not for everybody, actually. Sometimes it's about having an online presence that people can go and find you. So an audio-visual company I worked for a while, that they probably didn't make their sales there. They probably made them through meetings and exhibitions and stuff like that. It wasn't necessarily where they found their clients, but LinkedIn was a space for people to go and see, check them out, read a bit more about them. So if somebody comes to me and the clients they want and need are going to be local people that need to come to them for appointments, won't travel far. I think other platforms are probably more effective at gaining customers, such as local Facebook groups and potentially Instagram, where people can find you in your local area. But with LinkedIn, I think if you can serve people remotely, or you've got a product that you can send out, it's absolutely perfect. There's a huge network of people. You can connect with the right kinds of people by using the search bar. You can really grow your network and your audience in a very curative way, as long as you manage your feed and you manage your connections well. So, you know, for a lot of us, and myself included, you'd start on LinkedIn maybe when you're in a job in corporate, and then move on to starting a company. So you might have loads of your old colleagues on there, which is fine. But it's more then about getting into your network, the kinds of clients that you want and things like that. It, like everybody else said, it is a long game. It's not like an instant overnight thing. People have to trust you and know you and what have you. All kinds of content is okay, video is okay, long form, short form, just funny pictures. And I think it is evolving a little bit now into a little bit of a half and half. It's not such a businessy platform. There is a lot of people sharing personal stuff on there, but you don't have to be like that either. I always say, you know, whatever you're comfortable sharing, but that's the content that's easiest to engage with. So it's all these things, and it's just literally thinking about what outcome am I looking for, what's my end goal, and then putting the effort into that, because otherwise you're just, you know, doing all the things, and maybe that's not quite right for your business. And if your time's limited, as most of us are, that's important to consider.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the things, especially when it comes to content creation. You only because you can doesn't mean you should, because it needs to be realistic. But no, you've mentioned it in parts before, the whole kind of engaging and posting, the difference of putting your stuff out there and engaging with others. How important is it? What's the ratio? What is it about?
I was going to jump in just on what Sarah said, just because in terms of figure out what you're using the platform for in the first place. Like, I think there's always a rush to just be on stuff. And then you're like, well, what am I actually doing? Why should anyone care? And which of course, like, there's no point being on something if you've no idea what the goal is that you're there for. And the thing with Substack is I have two Substacks. One is mine and one is one I run for a client, and they have two completely different goals. And they work really well for, like, my Substack is for me to show my expertise and hopefully funnel some work my way. The Substack I run for my client is to drive their reputation as a community builder. It's got nothing to do with selling cinema tickets or getting attendance to events or driving work for that business. They just want to show up for their community. So it's like a listings newsletter to serve the film community as a service, as something nice to do. And actually, in terms of brand awareness, it's been great. In terms of reputation, it's fantastic. And that, as a side, people are more aware of what they do and the events that they run. But it's like, I couldn't trace that directly, but we just know it's having that double purpose. But that's not why they have the Substack. The goal for the Substack was very, very much, we're here to share resources to uplift our own community in film. And once you know that parameter, you know what you're doing with that platform and why you're bothering to show up and what to put on it. It really helps to guide that. Same with LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with YouTube as well, because it's important to offer content that will bring value to your readership and to the people subscribing to your channel. And so this is also very good to drive awareness about you, about your brand. And the point is not selling, it's to show that you know what you're talking about, and by that you're actually able to prove that surely your product is good because you know what you're talking about. So, and it's also a new way to sell things at the moment, I think. It's just like, we need proof that you know what you're doing, And we don't really care about the product in itself. It's more about like, how are you going to be able to understand me, my problems, how you can solve my problem, really. And I think social media is perfect for that. And those three, LinkedIn, Substack, and YouTube, are very complementary for that.
I think also with LinkedIn, Sarah, you were saying how it's, it's becoming a little less corporate, thank God. But also for the same reason, these channels are much more about influencing opinion than hard sell. Everyone's sick to death of adverts. Like, no one likes adverts. We're bored of them, that we're bombarded with them, and we've seen them all before. So they don't really, most of them are very not standing out. Same on LinkedIn. If all you're doing on LinkedIn is like, I did this, I'm great at that, milestone achieved, I'm thrilled that, like, no, people that are starting to share the wider of themselves, that have more of a story, where you're actually seeing a personality. Like, there are 10 people who can, I mean this kindly, I'm quite good at what I do, but I'm by no means the only social media marketing consultant on earth. People don't come to me because I can manage their Instagram. There are 10 people can manage their Instagram. They come to me because they understand that I'm obsessed with film. They know that I can speak their language and their mindset, and I get the world they're operating in. So it's sharing that it's the trust build rather than the just reeling off tick boxes of how great your product is or how great you are at your job. That should come through in your way of presenting.
So Denise was asking us about engagement versus posting. The analogy I always use with LinkedIn, and I don't know how it works, I'm interested to hear about Substack and YouTube. The analogy I use with LinkedIn is that you wouldn't go to an in-person networking meeting and not talk to anybody. You wouldn't just say your bit and then like go into a corner and say nothing. Well, I mean, you could. I certainly done it before myself. When I first started networking, I was terrified, but you won't get much out of it. So it's really important to interact with other people's posts that interest you. It's important to reply to your commenters. I always see people, well, I say always, I sometimes see people who don't reply to their comments, and I think, oh, that was sad because they took the time to comment. And I have a little tip that I use for the commenting part of it. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can either curate your feed by getting rid of stuff and saying you're not interested in certain creators or content. But I also use a document. I happen to use Excel, but it can be any spreadsheet, where I put links to the creators I really enjoy, their posts, and I just go to that each day. And I do this for myself and my clients so that I can find them, because they don't always pop up on your newsfeed and sometimes you miss them. There's something really satisfying and important about people's content that you think, yeah, I know what to say to that. Like, that's easy to interact with, or I can be supportive, or I like that person. So that's my little kind of tip on that one.
I think we can jump onto the Jonathan question as well about company pages versus personal profile, because I think it links to it.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that. Thank you, Sophie. So some people ask me that, and I always say it's good to have and it's good to share. So a lot of my clients have both, and sometimes we'll share the same content over and stuff. I always see that as a bit of an extension of your website rather than a place where people are going to find you or engage with you. I don't find that you get a lot of foot traffic on business pages, I'm afraid.
People find people interesting. People don't find brands by themselves interesting.
Exactly.
I'm seeing all the questions in the chat box.
I was wondering if we should keep them for later, but yeah, if they feed into what you're talking about anyway, that's a good idea.
Well, just to go back to the engagement question, I don't know why I went off on a complete tangent, because I was going to talk about, but it's absolutely the same on Substack. Like, people are putting their thoughts out, and some people are sharing the most incredible resources on there. I mean, there's just a lot of newspapers I find far less interesting than half the really deep dive, incredible articles that I see on there. Like, taking the time to comment, even if it's purely to say, like, that was helpful, I learned something today, that's very nice. But I also say it's a social platform. If you appreciate a piece of writing, let people know why. But also, if you disagree, that's your chance to put your client's thoughts out, or your own thoughts, or find a way to work your product placement. But like, engaging with others also puts you in front of them. You don't just have to be talking at people, you can talk with people in that comment section. And I think that does a lot of awareness building and is really, really important. And someone just said, can you start a Substack without publishing your own long form content? Yes. Have a Substack profile and use it purely to gain knowledge from other people. And if you're not ready to share your own writing, you can use those comment sections. You can use the notes feature to just share little tidbits or respond to others and share your knowledge that way, in a shorter way, if that's more comfortable.
On the YouTube side, I think community is incredible. For B2B companies, it might be a bit tricky because people watching videos have not a lot of time to comment. So if you have comments, I think it's super important to reply, because you will not have many. In other like sectors, or even for my orchids, I see that like comments are really important because it's a way to have questions and discussions about other things. And that's the opportunity, because not many people are actually replying to their subscribers and replying to other comments. If you do it, it puts you ahead of everyone else as well. Like Emma was saying for Substack, it's exactly the same thing. And there are a lot of opportunities as well to comment on other videos. And one thing I like about YouTube, and that works really well, is doing Q&A session, live sessions. Instead of having them on LinkedIn, for instance, if you have them on YouTube, that you have so many features on live to interact with people, that is very interesting to try it on. And also, your video is potentially going to have a boost of SEO afterwards, because it's not just a live right now, it's how you can capitalize on it later on. And if the live video, you put it online directly and open to everyone, that means you can be looked on Google and find your video and your live with a lot of different interesting questions. So there is a lot of potential as well on that side. You have now also in YouTube the feed section where you can have notes as well, and you can open it to your community. So it's not only you talking on your feed, but also your potential clients and others. So I find it really interesting, all the features they're trying to create to give the opportunity of creating this community. If you really like YouTube and you really want to do something about it, and your business YouTube can fit into it, you can also create a paid community and give even more benefit to the subscribers by doing in-depth videos, giving them their own content, because they also have a feed of content just for them. YouTube is very community driven, and I think we don't know enough about it, and companies should interest itself to see every feature that exists, because it's very, very interesting.
I massively second that the paid component, which obviously is how Substack monetizes itself. I don't do it personally, but again, for my client, we have the free version of their community newsletter, and then there is a paid version which just unlocks like extra resources basically, and that's where they actually sell themselves, because the free newsletter builds the community, but for the people that are hyper interested, that paid newsletter is where the client actually plugs their own material, podcast episodes, cut downs of interview videos with filmmakers. We plug our own events there. They prioritize their like what's coming up, and that, so it remains a resource, and the hardcore people who love what's in there are happy to pay for it, but it's also a vehicle then to do a bit more hard sell, which has that benefit. But I think the interesting with the YouTube, I don't know what that looks like, so I'm trying to visualize in my head what that YouTube notes feed looks like, but I definitely want to investigate that. But I'd say also with the live thing on YouTube, I'm sure you do this, is once you've done a live Q&A or a recording on YouTube, you can edit that down into 6-7 pieces of short form content that can then go on your LinkedIn, on your shorts, you can put it on Substack, because Substack has video as well. So yeah, it's never just one video or one thing. There's always multiple uses for these things.
Yeah, if you actually want to have different platforms and post on different platforms, the idea is like you don't have to create a new idea for everything.
No.
You can bring a different angle, you can reuse different things on, if you create a blog post, you can reuse some of the sentence to create quotes on LinkedIn. You can read a part of your blog post in front of your telephone and create a video about that and post it on TikTok or even, on YouTube. Recycling is a good thing. Yeah. Just twisting it a little bit, not to have exactly the same, quotes and ideas coming through on each of the platform. But it is so much easier to think about different topics and then bring them differently on each of the platform, I think.
Questions up in the chat, and one of the first ones was, I never know how to choose. So we've talked about the problem of everybody.
Common question.
Yeah, everybody being everywhere and not wanting to know. And we all know, obviously, you should be where your ideal client is and where your skill set lies and your interest. But I want to turn that around to you. How have you chosen? And I know that obviously a lot of your social media and content work is based on what your clients want and where they are. But you yourself, for your own business, how have you chosen?
I definitely went for Facebook because it was where I was most comfortable at first. And then I became very comfortable with LinkedIn. But I was quite terrified of it at first. And then during the pandemic, this is going to really get me some tutting, but I entered a engagement pod that a friend told me about. And it was basically that you put a hashtag at the bottom of your post, and then we'd all go and look for each other's posts and engage and blah, blah, blah. And I began to feel more comfortable on there, and I began to understand what posts get engagement, like what's easy to reply to, for example. I came out of it eventually because they wanted to start charging us money, which was fine. And it was, but it really taught me a lot. Now, obviously, it's very frowned upon to go in engagement pods. I get that, which is why I don't do it. But that experience just taught me. But I started with Facebook because I was most comfortable there. And I would always say that to my clients. Where do you feel most comfortable or least uncomfortable?
I 100% agree. I say that to others, and it's always like, I am very happy doing on camera video. I'm very comfortable with it, but I'm only really comfortable with it on Instagram because I know what I'm doing. Yeah. I know I'm an OG Instagram user. I've been on there since it launched. Every new feature, it's like an extension of my hand. I then tried TikTok because I was like, well, it's the same thing really, isn't it? It's not. TikTok's a completely different animal. It operates differently. They are separate things. They're both video, but that's about the only similarity. And I tried TikTok and I was just like, I'm not built for this. I have to know what's going on. I've done it very, very rarely for clients because I'm very upfront. I'm like, this is not the platform I'm a specialist in. I know about it. I get how it works. I'm not comfortable advising on it. And I gave up. I was like, I'm not putting my time into this. I stay where I'm knowledgeable, where I'm comfortable, and and for clients also where I can give the best advice. And one thing I see a lot that I'm sure is common to you as well is you'll be working with a client or company or another business person who has been on a platform, say it's Facebook, for 20 years, and they've built up a presence, not knowing what they're doing. They're just sort of figuring it out or not really making an effort, but they are on there and there is a sizable amount of following already there. And then they'll come to you and be like, I've got to be on TikTok. Everyone's on TikTok. I must be on TikTok. And then you ask them why, and there's no one knows. And you're like, well, you've got 1,000 people already listening to what you're saying on Facebook. You like Facebook. You're comfortable with Facebook and you know how it works. Let's start optimizing the channel where you're at already and start making that one work by applying knowledge and strategy. If then there's extra time and capacity and resource, maybe experiment with something else.
Yeah.
But if you're already somewhere that is your safe space you're comfortable with, where there's already like a sizable base, I would put the time and energy into making that space work by applying or hiring someone who knows how to make it work for you, rather than dumping that to go and try a whole new thing from scratch that you find very baffling and scary.
I think there is only me to do that, because I was really uncomfortable with YouTube a couple of years ago. And because I'm content manager, I thought, you know what? I need to know how YouTube is working, because video is a big part also of my job right now, creating videos for clients. And I decided, let's go, let's do it. I hate it. I don't want to put my face in front of a camera. Oh my God. And then I got the gist, and I like it now. But yeah, definitely, I agree with you, definitely. But if you like adventure, that could be a thing.
Oh yeah, I would never say no. It's usually when the client has like limited resource and budget and time,
Clearly,
and they ignore something that's already semi-working in favor of ditching that and trying something that they don't actually that would require triple the time, resource, and budget to make it work, rather than elevate what's already there. Oh my God, but by all means, yes, if you're willing to go for something, I would always be like, yeah, do it.
yeah.
But it's when people are coming with you and it's like, I've got $3,000 to do this campaign. It's got to be on TikTok. And I'm like, do you have any presence on TikTok? No. Do you have an existing base? No. Do you know how TikTok even works? No. Do you have time to do loads and loads of videos? No. Okay, but you've got 3,000 followers on Instagram and you're already posting there like every other day and you know how the platform works. Here's where we can better spend £3,000 if that's all you've got.
No, definitely. And on my side, I know I need to be on LinkedIn, because obviously all the tech companies and people working at tech companies are on LinkedIn. But another thing we already touched upon, it was it depends on what you want from your channel. Like you said, on Substack, you build up your reputation and your expertise, and it's more connecting with like-minded people more than clients. And it's a bit like that if I take I take more the content creation side. So for instance, All Kids Are is very niche, and you have people, botanists, like really focus on plants and how they develop, blah blah blah. They are really like into science, and those people, you find them on Instagram. But if you want to, create a business and do a product and sell something to someone, YouTube is brilliant, because that's where, people with absolutely no knowledge of orchids are and looking for answers. So there is, different channel for different things for me, for instance. And I know LinkedIn, I have to be there and be all like talking about business and marketing and that side. And I'm on Instagram because I talk with botanists and etc. and people to learn more about science, and on YouTube because I want to create a content business about orchids. So it's all about also finding the right people at the right place, I think.
Yeah.
It's also about trying it out, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to give it a try before you know who's actually responding and what's working.
Yeah. And give things time. There's this impression, very mistaken, that social media is all quick and easy and that virality matters. Like, you can have a video reach 1 million views and then the next day nothing, and those 1 million views are not going to drive a single sale, a single client. Like, it just means something sparked and a lot of people saw it. A lot of irrelevant people probably saw it. That's never going to really affect your business but the long game, which, going back to the beginning, people give up on platforms very quickly. Like, they'll try Instagram for 3 weeks and be like, oh, well, I've not sold any of my courses, or nothing's really moving for me. And I'm like, you've been on it 3 weeks. Like, it can take months to build it. And some people, fair enough, I get it, because everyone's super busy. Not everyone's willing to last that long, and it can be really demoralizing when you get crickets for like weeks and weeks and weeks. But there's always an inflection point. It does happen, and it can be in a year, and suddenly something just clicks, because that mountain of material that you've built up slowly and steadily by showing up, by just getting on with it and sharing and sharing and sharing, it does eventually pay back. It's like having a cash ISA, or putting money in a savings account. You've got to play that long game, and then down the line you realize, oh, there's a sizable amount of money in there, and now it's paying back. So I'd say don't give up too quickly on things. It's the steady showing up and consistent showing up that actually is going to get you what you're looking for, usually. And in the long run, it really does pay off, generally.
And that is also linked to the sustainability of it, isn't it? Like, if you do a boost for 3 months and you're running yourself ragged creating content, then obviously you're never going to keep that pace up. But you might see results, but once you slow down, they will slow down. So it's keeping it at a pace and being in it for the long
manageable
game.
Yeah, and I was going to say that. And also, maybe start slow, like instead of posting once a day, which is exhausting, is like maybe twice a week, and and starting like that. And when you get the gist and the hang of it, you can maybe increase, because you will like it. If you don't like it, just stick with it twice a week and you're absolutely fine. But when you get the hang of it and you see that you start to know new people, you start to see the community that been creating around your content, then it gets more interesting and less a hassle than actually just go full on first and have no results.
Yeah.
Well, there was a bit of a question earlier, which I'm taking a little bit of a pinch from. So all of your platforms, so it's content creation. You have long form parts of your content on YouTube, you have it on Substack, you have it on LinkedIn if you want to put your newsletter or posts on there, on articles, or you can have video and all of these things. So all of these platforms give you somewhere to put your long form thought leadership, really in-depth content. So the question would be, what's better, owned platform or third-party platform? Because that's been haunting us in social media and in marketing for quite a while now. So should you have it on your blog, on your website where you own it? And should you have your newsletter on your own mailing list, or should you use Substack? I know that there's no black and white, but I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't feel like we own anything. The tech bros own our souls, Denise. There's nothing we own.
Okay.
It's a myth. No, I'm joking. It's a different. I don't do any email marketing. I have not got time for that. I tried it. It got absolutely nowhere. It got me nothing. And then I realized I was just rehashing what I was already sharing on LinkedIn that people actually read and saw. So I don't.
How do you find the difference between email marketing and Substack then? Because that is or can be an email platform to a degree.
I don't know. That's a very good question, actually. Maybe it's, I don't know. It just felt like there was a hell of a lot more work involved in trying to wrestle with things like MailChimp and also, if you go over a certain number, you have to start paying MailChimp to email people. And I'm just like, what am I doing? There's a mountain of platforms. I don't need to pay for it to do this. And I think less on I overthink email marketing. And actually, it worked against me, because all the overthink made me write the most corporate sounding gibberish that no one was interested in. On Substack, I sound like myself, because it feels really casual. like, oh, I'm having a thought right now. I might clean it up a bit, but there's something less pressured about Substack somehow that I actually think means the writing's better, because I'm not. Email marketing sounds like it's a task that's salesy and I know it doesn't have to be, but that's where my brain goes. Whereas with Substack, I just feel like I'm having a chat with people who are all operating in the same space. It's psychological, I don't know. My business, how I get clients, and the way my business works, it means email marketing is not how film distributors recruit social media marketing managers. And no one is going to follow a film release through email marketing. Like, I don't think any of you have ever signed up for email newsletters about a film coming out.
Nope.
No.
Fair point.
So it's
Fair
just,
point.
it's also because the nature of the business I work in, that's just not a channel that people are on. It's completely different, I'm sure, for different kinds of businesses where it is going. I mean, I've worked with clients where email marketing is a major part of their business, and I completely know why they do it, and it does work.
No, it's just a question that often comes up, like, should you own it, or should it be something you have more control over than somebody switching off your account because they think you had a hiccup or something like that? That's no, but yeah, I understand what you mean. Absolutely.
I mean, yes, but
how about YouTube? How about videos? Do you feel like, YouTube is still getting you're getting more out of it by doing it on YouTube rather than have your own platform?
Well, the interesting thing is that you can get your video on your own platform from YouTube. So, somewhere it's a good way to host your videos anyway. Yeah, I don't know if with videos you would host them anyway, like on Instagram or, YouTube seems fairly good because obviously you get the SEO boost with the platform, which I found interesting. But in terms of having owning your audience, it's more difficult because obviously you don't have access to data from the people watching your videos. So if you're a business and you want to have more contact with the community on Facebook, on YouTube, sorry, I would actually try to drive them through Substack, for instance, to actually own their email and, being able to talk to them more directly. It's a good way of doing it. Like, you're doing a video, then you have your lead magnets at the bottom of your video in the commenting section. And if they want to know, more about the topic you just talked in your video, they're going to want to download your lead magnets. And then that's how you have their data. But as far as owning your videos and hosting them on your own platform, like, who does that? And who has the technical background to do it as well? That's the problem.
yeah.
But, yeah.
How about LinkedIn, Sarah? I know that I've only ever seen them, never used it, but you can put your articles on there in a newsletter, even LinkedIn only newsletter. Is that just to keep people on the platform, or is that actually also giving users like us a benefit?
I don't really know the answer to that. I don't do that a lot for guys. I was just thinking about data, though. You can download your connection data via your profile. It's long, but you can do it. And then the other thing I do is I use content libraries. So I use Trello to save all of my posts and my clients' posts, partly because we can then repurpose them or get inspired by them, and partly because that way, if your account disappears, it's not all gone. So that's how I handle that. The newsletter side of things, I guess, is, as you say, it's about keeping them on the platform, which is the name of the game a lot of the time. But I don't quite know how you get the information about who's read them.
Yeah, I think that might be a problem. I don't know anybody who uses it either. That's why I was curious, because it's there, but oh, Maria, there you go.
think
Not
alone.
not because I do email, but I did start a LinkedIn newsletter recently. You don't see who's read them, but it's kind of, you see the analytics you see for your posts, like engagements, impressions and stuff. The newsletters and articles are what gets listed on Google, are what the AI is reading when they're searching you. So they don't read your posts. The posts aren't accessible to the public, but the articles are accessible to the public. And so in that kind of gives you more reach and opportunity. And also I think everyone who connects with you becomes a follower because automatic subscriber, or at least they get a ping to subscribe to your newsletter. So it's sort of just a way to reach more people. It's basically just a channel, a marketing channel, for you to post stuff that you already post somewhere else. So you can do it in different ways. You can, for example, somebody I just started following, she got a LinkedIn newsletter and a Substack. This is paid and free Substack. The paid style Substack obviously has only that content there, but most of what she posted on the free Substack is on the LinkedIn newsletter, but not the whole thing. So almost like a snippet, and then I have to go to the Substack to read the full Substack as long as it's free. And so it's sort of like a funnel. And then of course she's got a newsletter as well, which is different. So it's sort of like, it's just a different way to repurpose your content, right? It's more public. And you don't want to give away everything for free for the public, so you want to put something behind an email, etc. It's just trying to use it. The way I use it is just I try to write stuff that would be searchable, that would be useful, that can, when someone's looking for results, they can find my name. Like, so how do I do this? And then my articles will come up. So it isn't that, for me, it's entirely different content from my email marketing, but may not be. We'll see in the future.
Any other words? We have a question otherwise on tools, like getting started. Are there any tools that you could say that, YouTube or Substack helps with? Or like if somebody just is a bit scared of video or of writing or of the platform, because we all know, as you all said, like in the beginning, you just kind of wiggle your way around and try to set up your profile and get the gist of it. Is there any way to make it easier that you've used or you can recommend?
For YouTube, I would use your phone because phone cameras are now really good. You don't need to invest in any, new fancy camera or anything. Your phone is your best friend. You can, you just certainly has one of those, for instance, like you can put your phone on it and, put it in the right way and just film like this. The most important, as I said, is the sound. So if you want to, improve that, just buy a cheap microphone, like even, 15, 20 quid is enough to make it better. And then after that, YouTube has its own tool, so you can use on your phone YouTube Create, so you don't even have to put your video onto your computer and use another tool to create your video. Instagram has now Edit. You can do marvels with that as well. So this, like, I would start simple. You have a nice clean background, the same as you do when you do Zoom calls with your clients. You use your phone, you have a good sound system, and that will be enough to start with. It doesn't need more than that, to be honest.
Yeah. There's people asking about captions and stuff in the comments with videos. Like every video tool, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, it's all integrated. So you record your video and then it will generate captions for you. You'll probably have to tweak them a bit, but they all have their own captioning tool. You don't need an external tool.
Yeah, and
to do that. They've all got them, and they're all, I'm not gonna lie, they're all pretty sophisticated. You have to really be mumbling a lot for it to miss words. It understands accents. It can translate your caption. Like I often translate captions into other languages, and it just does that at a press of a button. And then I get the person who's being translated just sense check, make sure like it hasn't. They're very sophisticated.
And YouTube is dubbing as well. I mean,
Yeah.
like you're lucky because obviously I'm a French speaker, so my channel is in French, so I don't have the same tools than the English speakers have, but you can translate, dub yourself in so many different languages. Okay, you sound a bit weird, I have to say. Dubbing with YouTube is a bit weird. But it's amazing. Like if you wanted to reach people in India, you could do it by speaking Hindi, like or Portuguese or French or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's you don't need to use any other platform than actually YouTube to do that. It's great for that.
Well, we've had in the before we started the Fireside chat and when we talked about it, I quite liked the question that I think came from you, Sophie, and I would like to give it as a final bit into the room. If you were starting your business or marketing from scratch today, which platform would you choose and why? Like if you had a complete tabula rasa view, you're starting from the very beginning, which one would you go for and why?
For me, it would be LinkedIn. I wish I'd started there. A client and very clever LinkedIn expert says that he started his LinkedIn long before he started his business, and it certainly paid dividends for him. And I think it's because it's such a wide net of people to talk to connect with, and has just shown me and taught me so many incredible things. I really, really think it's absolutely spot on. It was only literally the discomfort of using it before that stopped me. So that would be me. That would be my choice.
I concur 100%. LinkedIn all the way. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think all the things that I like from all the other platforms, you can do on LinkedIn. I like writing. I like doing video. I also am very irreverent and not corporate and like being silly. And there's more of that on LinkedIn than there ever used. Some people hate it. Fair enough. But I think you can really sell your personality on LinkedIn as well, and it gets you a long way. So it's by far and away what I would recommend, hands down.
Yeah, same here. I don't like it, but I think it's also the way to go, where to start, and also have a very good, because it's your CV in the end. I realize it now because I'm restarting my solo business now, and I realize people are just checking me on LinkedIn to see what I've done previously. So your CV is super important as well as what you're talking about on
I get asked by a lot of young filmmakers. I say young, I'm talking like they're still in film school or they're 19 and figuring it out, and they all have these like amazing TikTok channels and YouTube, which is natural. That's where they're showcasing their work.
Yeah.
But where they can never get funding, they don't know how to get into film festivals, they don't know how to be noticed by the industry. And I'm like, guys, you have to do your YouTube to showcase the work. Of course, you're filmmakers, that's the natural place. But funders, festival heads, potential investors, like small businesses that might have a philanthropic fund that might give you some money, people that work in the equipment, camera manufacturer, all the people working in the entertainment business, they're all on LinkedIn. So a young filmmaker, I'm like, you have to be a filmmaker, be your creative side, but you are also a business. You don't think you are. You think you're just a creative filmmaker. You're a business, and you have to show that side. You have to show that you understand the business of entertainment as well. And actually, that's where the money is. It's on LinkedIn. It's not your fellow 19-year-old watching your video on YouTube being like, yeah, so cool. That might be your audience, and you need that. But that's not where the money or your business growth is going to come. And the ones I'm seeing, a couple of them do LinkedIn, and they're hilarious because they're completely fresh and fun. They're not at all like corporate minded. They haven't come from that. And actually, they're getting really interesting introductions. They're getting placements on projects. and they're learning the business. And I think I really think LinkedIn has the biggest potential still.
Well, that boosts it all out of the water. That's very good to know. There was a question that maybe we can use to start a little bit of a more open Q&A section. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution so far. It's, if you feel not comfortable engaging and posting and just feel a little bit of that, whether that's the putting yourself out there or feeling you have to sell yourself, or just, it's Lisa's already said to there that, no, quite rightly, that probably most people, especially if you start from scratch, most people probably don't see anyway, or don't, we all always feel like, we have our eyes on our own content. Other people have other priorities. So they don't, put that in the center of their day and then think about it for hours. But generally, have you had that as well, that you in the beginning felt a little bit uncomfortable, or what have you done? What can you tell people to how to overcome that?
Yeah, definitely. I was terrified of LinkedIn, terrified of saying the wrong thing, looking like an idiot, not being knowledgeable. So my slightly unethical, unorthodox answer to that was this engagement pod, but I think you can create that in a different way by finding a couple of, let's say 5 content writers that you like. You could even start with people in this room here and just go to their profile often, see what they're talking about, engage with them, get to make it a bit of a friendlier place. Because if you just imagine it as this expanse of people all sort of judging you, which they're not, but it's how it feels, that you just get stuck, and then just keep repeating that and keep looking for things and the way people say things that make it easy to engage, and maybe ask. Somebody once did tell me, and it resonated years later, if there's a lot of I's in your post, as in I have done this and I've achieved that and I've done whatever, it's a little bit of an exclusive post. So if you ask questions of them, if you try and draw them into the conversation, that's quite a good idea as well. And yeah, I think I learned my best social media lesson from a very young guy who's very well liked on Instagram, and I really liked him. I really liked all his content, and he asked once if the one of the used words he used gave people the ick, and I said, yeah, it does. And he went, oh well, can't please everyone, and moved on. And I was like, oh yeah, you can't please everyone, it's fine. And it really did make me think, I've been overthinking this far too much. You literally cannot please everybody, and that's fine.
That's absolutely true. And for videos, a good tip I heard and I thought, wow, that's brilliant, is that you can film yourself and never post what you're doing for, a couple of weeks. Every day, you take 5 minutes and talk to the camera and just delete it afterwards. Just like you don't have to use it, you just do it so you get used to it.
Yeah.
And then, when you feel a lot more comfortable and when you talk and you see that it's more natural, you have less end thinking and, and language, text and, using always the same words, then you're like, oh, maybe I can try now. Maybe I can just, do it. And you keep going, and at the point where you say, well, this video was good, well, then try to post it and see what it happens. And that's how you start being comfortable. And I think that's brilliant, because you don't have to post everything you're doing, you just have to try it and get used to it.
I agree with that. I think those are 2 really good tips. I just say, if you're nervous being on camera, I'm a theatre kid, so I'm kind of okay with the whole being on camera. Where I got ick and scared was when I tried to be serious. Like, I tried to make the videos of like, this is what I learned in my business and the 5, and I looked so weird and I hated myself, and I was just like, that's not going anywhere. And then I just realized if I just was myself, then actually I could handle it. And if people do, it's like you say, you can't please everybody. But I've had clients that are very nervous, and I always say, imagine the phone is a mate.
Yeah.
You're talking to a mate. So, and I think it's a really good tip to just try a few things and just don't post them. But I'm always like, you're not teaching other business people how to do something, you're telling your mate something cool. And the phone is your friend, and you're having a coffee and you're just telling a story, and start that way. Just to get rid of that weird factor of talking into your phone.
I like that. Cool. Well, quick recap. So you need goals, you need to know why you're there, is what I'm taking from everything you've covered so far. If you don't know why you're there and what you want out of it, how do you know that you're actually achieving something? But also it's about engaging as much as posting. It's not just, it's a contact sport, as one says. But also it needs to be realistic. I take that from everything what was said so far. You can't just sprint and expect it to be, something you can keep up for longer. It's a long game anyway. So, do what's realistic, what's actually doable for you at the time. And that's enough. And then you just keep going. But also, brace yourself. It won't be happening in 2 weeks' time that you're suddenly getting all the clients you ever needed. But also repurposing, so nothing is separate. Whatever you're doing on your other marketing, whatever you're doing at a networking event can then be used for a newsletter, or can be then a talking point for a post or a video or everything like that. So repurposing makes it a lot less work as well, in order to come up with new content. Any other questions? I would like to open this up to everybody else now. If there's any questions, any comments, anything you would like to ask our experts while they're still here, then now's your time.
I was going to ask about testing content. Like, what's the best way to do that? Is there a sort of space could you keep one account, like, I don't know, Facebook, and try? But I guess the audiences are different. Yeah, like, how do you test content with your clients or for your clients?
Just post it.
Yeah,
that's the test.
I wouldn't get too muddled up into that personally.
It's just making more work for yourself. Yeah.
Some stuff's going to work, some stuff isn't.
Yeah.
Start to observe the patterns. Look at the ones that are giving you the results you want, and maybe do more of that. But social media is a testing platform. The entire function of social media is, that's why the people that win are the people that post often.
Yeah.
Because they're always testing. And if a post flops, they're like, okay, well, tomorrow, like, the next one might. A failed post means nothing on social media.
The outcome.
But also it's not about the engagement, is it? It's about it depends what results you're measuring it on. Because if your goal for social media is to get clients, a post could get 20,000 views and not bring you a client. So you might have tested your content and gone, oh, this kind of content gets loads of views, but if it's not bringing you business, you're not getting the result that you want.
So your social media works for the entirety of everything you put out. It's not like one magic post does one magic thing. Like, maybe if you're Nike and and you put billions behind your post and you already have 1 billion followers, that's a different story. But most small businesses, it's not a one post ever is going to be a make or break of anything. It's the volume and the overall time. That's why we always say it's a long game. It's the accumulation of many, 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 many things that starts getting you awareness. It's the same with almost any marketing activity that you do. There's usually not one action that is the thing that makes you a billionaire overnight. It's constant iterating, testing, trying a new thing, having a new campaign. Like, posts are going to flop and you'll never figure out why. And sometimes the most mundane thing that had no thought behind it is going to get you an inquiry. And you only start noticing what moves the dial after you've posted many, many times and done a lot of work. So always look at the bigger picture, and don't worry.
And consistency counts more than having the perfect content.
And it's social media. We're not performing heart surgery. Like, if one post doesn't go anywhere, like, absolutely nothing is affected by that. Nothing.
Of your ego.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
And you can definitely do one post and double it with another visual or whatever, and try it twice. No one is going to see both of them. That's the problem of the algorithm. So you can definitely do A/B test by your own on your own channel, that will be fine. You're totally fine.
I would say Instagram does in fact have an A/B testing tool.
True.
So you can test reels. So you can post 2 versions of the same reel. It could be a different caption or a different thumbnail or different music or whatever. And you can A/B test it to a testing group. And Instagram will just say, like, are you happy with the results of this test? If so, would you like to share this with all your followers? So that is something they have integrated. So that does exist. I'd also say I have seen businesses share the same TikTok post 5 times in a row, and they just change the thumbnail, and one thumbnail will get them 1.4 million views for the same video that they've just posted 5 times, and one of them will get them nothing.
That's the same experience.
Yeah, and no one, like, people scrolling are not going to see that this business posted the same video 5. Like, you have to be really studying and obsessing over an individual person to even notice that they're doing that. So test away. Like I would say, yeah.
Yeah, I always say, like, it's like doctors. If you ask 7, you get 10 different opinions. So it's the same with the posts. If you put the same post out 3 times, you will have 3 different types of engagement and amount of engagement and interaction and sharing or whatsoever. It is not an exact science because there is a lot of factors playing into it. So just go and have fun.
I would just ask those of you that are using Substack, because I did an experiment where I used 3 platforms similar, so Beehive, Ghost, and Substack. They all pretty much do the same thing, and I didn't really like Substack. But where do you think Substack's going? Because at the minute, it's making a loss. So how do you think when the investors turn around and say, give us some return now, are they going to make users pay, or are they going to make you have paid subscriptions? Or are they going to make people pay to use the platform? Or is it going to be ads like everything else?
That's a really interesting question. I'm glad you asked that. Ads are coming. Ads are always coming. Like, any new platform that comes and says we're going to be the anti-Facebook and we'll never do adverts is going to introduce adverts within 2 years. So they will come. I think they are going to drive everyone to move to the paid subscriber as much as possible. But I'm also seeing the increasing amount of celebrity Substacks, which means and I suspect those are brand deals. I don't think Billie Eilish is spending her evenings writing lengthy blog posts for her Substack followers. She might be. Don't want to dismiss her, but she's a very busy person also doing a million things. I suspect we're going to start seeing a brand ambassador type model where a celebrity will have a Substack as a PR tool. Lena Dunham just released her new memoir on Substack, was pretty much the launch platform for that. And she is a writer, so she did a lot of the writing, but a lot of it was a PR team behind it that did a brand deal with Substack to also have to use the platform as a marketing tool, and that was all paid. There's suddenly a million celebrities on Substack that were not there 3 months ago, and they're all big heavy hitters, and they're writing, but they're also plugging their brand deals with Adidas or whatever. So I think that might be one thing they're going to explore more like the lifestyle.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't realize that it's actually in the terms and conditions that you're not allowed to use Substack just to send people to other platforms to make money. Like, you are allowed to promote your stuff there, but essentially they're letting people use the platform for free. So if you're not getting a paid membership, and you're just pushing people towards somewhere to get money off them, I think they'll clamp down on that.
No, I think
that's mainly for people who don't have long form content and thought leadership, but more salesy stuff that they want to keep them from doing that.
I'm sure ads. I'm 100% sure adverts are coming. I don't know how they'll survive. Adverts, brand deals. Like, I think they'll start because they're also trying to move to this more like editorial, like they're trying to replicate like Vogue magazine online. So I think they'll start asking personalities and media titles to pay for a branded Substack. So you effectively have your own media
Yeah.
your own media outlet that is white labeled through Substack, and you pay them for that. I guess might be a thing they do.
There's another question from Maria, if you don't mind me, reading it out for me. It's worried about that turning Substack into something like Medium, where you can only see X amount of kind of posts for free before it clamps down. But I think they're currently giving that to Substack owners. Like, every Substack person who has a publication can decide that for themselves. The question is, would they ever go and do that for the whole platform? Which I don't know how Medium
that's better
is
for readers.
It's
better for readers, because with Medium you pay 50 quid a year or $50 a year, and you can read any content that's on there. But with Substack, you have to pay each individual writer a minimum of $5 a month, or $50 a year, because that's the minimum that Substack will allow you to set up a paid subscription for. And for your $50, you only get to read one person's content, whereas on Medium, for $50, you get to read unlimited content from a whole range of writers. So the Medium model is better for readers, but it's not better for writers, because writers make less of the cut of the part. So for readers, that model is great, but for writers, it's not as good.
Yeah, I don't know how
But what I used to do with Substack was I would put my stuff on Substack, my blog post on Substack, and share it in my newsletter. And then I would import it to Medium and put it behind a paywall. So I was making money both ways as well. So you can do that. A lot of people don't repurpose the content. It's the biggest missed opportunity. I think I said this last week, those images that Substack makes automatically for your content, they make great pins on Pinterest. So you literally just put them on your board with a link.
They look good everywhere.
They are good for any social media, but I just think people just forget that. You don't just share your content everywhere, because everywhere's got different audiences and most people won't see it anyway. So the same with LinkedIn newsletters. People don't reshare your blog post as an article on LinkedIn. Put it on your website first, then put it as an article on LinkedIn, because it doesn't mess with SEO or anything like that. And you're just getting able to tap into a bigger audience with it.
Any other questions? If there's no other questions or talking points or things that needed to be said or anything, have we got you to the end of either at the end of your tether, or now everything you need to know? Just joking. But yeah, it's thank you very much. I mean, again, for Sophie obviously as well, but Emma and Sarah for sharing your time and giving up your time and sharing your expertise and everything. That was very interesting. Next week is Maria Wave talking to us about email marketing. So that's again on Thursday at 1 p.m. and that's session number 6. Am I right? Yes, I can count. Excellent. But yeah, so if you have any other questions, it also goes for the other speakers and for the other sessions. If there's any questions about homework or anything you want to share and everything, use the WhatsApp group that we have set up, which is perfect. If you have any questions for Emma or Sarah or Sophie or anybody else, use that and reach out. And otherwise, we'll see you next week, I think.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you. Bye-bye.
Cool.
See you next week. Bye.